Okay, I'm just going to get started because we're already 5 minutes over. Okay, welcome everybody to the first of the Healy trainings that I'm completing. This is the Healy number 1, which is delving into the program descriptions and on the pink app. So many of us have had our Healys for, quite a long time. And a lot of us don't even know much about what each program does. They get overwhelmed with which programs to choose. And, especially myself as well, I don't use a lot of the programs because in the past, I wasn't sure what they actually did or how to use them. So this particular training, I will be doing a lot more of them. We will see how many programs we get or how many categories we get through today. It might take longer than 2 sessions because I do want to go quite deep into each category. So what I would like to say, anyone that's watching the replay, if you do have questions, please just reach out to me and I'm happy to go deeper into anything that any questions that may come up. And if you are a member, then you can also just ask in the support channel as well. So I'm going to start off by sharing, if you haven't seen this already, this PDF of descriptions, which I think is very important for everybody to have. And I have come across many people that haven't seen it. And I'd like to just kind of show everyone that by sharing my screen. For those in the Zoom, you can see in the chat channel the 2 links, and that is to your personal, let's say personal resources. One is the description PDF and the others is the visual cards that I've created. Anyone watching the replay will be able to access these in the e-learning suite as well. So if you don't have a chance to grab these now, don't worry, you'll get them later. So I'm going to start by sharing the first document. Okay, I'm just going to open it. May as well just click on the link, actually. Sorry, it's a whole lot easier. And okay, let's share the screen to start with. So you should see the screen now. If anyone hasn't seen this, please download it and please print it off. It's slightly old. Some of the descriptions and the names of each of the categories or some of the programs themselves have changed. And I will point that out as we go through it. So I'm just going to quickly flick through this in case you haven't seen it, because I will be going through this. And even if you get a chance to print this out as we go through the training, when I go onto the app, it will be very useful. So we've got the gold cycle. It gives you a description about what it is and each program itself and what it does. Same for local stimulation, which is actually the pain programs. They were called the pain programs. Learning, fitness, sleep and job, beauty and skin. We've got mental balance, meridians, meridians 2, bioenergetic balance 1, 2, the chakras, the protection programs, and the deep cycle, which has a lot more information in there. So those that haven't seen it, or those that have seen it and haven't printed it off yet, this is very useful to have. And I will be kind of like sharing documents like this as we go through the training. So I really recommend getting yourself a folder, printing it off and starting to collect these documents and putting them in one file. That will help you immensely, especially if you're doing scans for others. In the future, you'll be able to go to your manual and be able to explain, for example, all the different databases and give people much more in-depth information for their scans. Okay, great. So that's just to show you, and just to show you the other link in which I had, stop sharing for a second. These visual cards, they're very handy. I am thinking about getting them printed at some point. so that people can purchase them. It's been an idea of mine since a while. So I'm just going to share my screen for these. Here we go. So I've actually got them in folders. Again, you can just access this from the link I've posted. Each category has its own folder, and you can see that I've actually created some really visual cards that explain what each program does. So for example, this is the Bioharmony one, and you can see I've got everything in there. Quite nice as well if you wanted to post these on your social media, or if you wanted to share what Healy does, especially those that are in business training or want to share with their friends. You can also use these for that. It's very handy. Okay, and you know, you've got something for everything there. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing and I'm going to move over to the Healy, and I'm going to share from there now. Okay, so just so that you know how we can really get the most out of our Healys, is that we can actually get into our Healy program descriptions via this description manual, but we can also use it for, if we want to, we can go into the Heal Advisor app if you have that. It was in the, I can show you that maybe afterwards at the end, how we can actually tap into the app and how useful that is to use the pink dot programs. For now, I'm just logging into the pink app. If you are joining and you've got yours in front of you, you can do the same. Okay, so many of us know there are sometimes some technical glitches with the Healy. It is quite, let's say, sometimes frustrating, and I understand that can be frustrating for many. However, it is a very powerful technical machine, and it does require quite a lot of data through it, and sometimes it does need to be reset. I will do a separate video to work through technical glitches in the e-learning module over the coming weeks. Okay, so just going straight into the program descriptions, I'm going to first of all start with the gold, because the gold is almost the basic of the Healy, but also from my perspective, one of the most powerful set of programs that we have. So I'm just going to show you the gold cycle. And also in terms of this, there is a number of different ways we can use these programs. The descriptions on the cards and on the document is one way, and I have also my own experiences and examples for them. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through them. For those in Zoom, feel free to just jump in if you've used your gold for something in particular that is worth sharing, because I'm sure a lot of people who watch this will also be interested in other experiences as well. So let's start with pure. So pure is the basis of everything. It is the ideal starting point. For me, the pure is something that I would recommend everybody who's new to Healy to do for a minimum of 1 month. What that is it's a detox program. And as many people know, and many of us know, that we are toxic. We're not sick, we're toxic. We are full of all sorts of environmental pollutants, and also lots of toxins in the water, in our diet. And this here, the gold cycle, is really pulling out anything that doesn't serve us in our bodies, but also in our field. So if a lot of us, if any of us ever have any issues at all with something spiritual or emotional or mental or physical, anything that's coming to our field that is not in harmony, the pure is going to just harmonize that. Okay, so remembering that if we're really not sure which program we should do, and we feel a little bit blocked, or we can't move forward in our lives, or if we feel unmotivated or stagnant, the Pure program is a very great place to start. And it's really good to do that on a regular basis. And as some of you know, you can use it with the coil. Now, I will also explain a little bit in another video about the coil and the wristbands, but I do really recommend to use the wristbands. The reason being is that physical wristbands do work differently to the coil. And especially, you know, I've seen this with experience and also with some of my clients, is that they kind of moved to the coil and their results have been a lot slower. And I find that it's been showing that they feel like they're not getting as many, they feel like they're not getting as many, excuse me, I feel like they're not getting as many results, like I said. So I really recommend using the wristbands because it works directly with the physical body, and that is extremely powerful. It works directly with the cells of the body, and it's changing it from the root cause in the cells. So I really recommend to just continually use the wristbands. You can also use the coil for other reasons. But as you can see on this page, you see the little bubbles that are above the each one. It's got the 3 little circles. That means you can use it with the coil. Okay, it is possible. The ones that don't have those circles, they say it doesn't really work with the coil. You know, and I mean, for me, with the Healy, is that intention is everything anyway. But you know, if we're going to be like sticking to the rules of what Healy say, anything with 3 bubbles above it, it says you can work with the coil. Now, those people that find it difficult to wear the wristbands, because so many people do, and they're very sensitive, the coil is fine to use that. Just turn the coil up. You can have it at 100% when you're using these programs. Otherwise, I recommend the wristbands. Now, those people that struggle wearing wristbands, one of my best tips that I have is wearing a long sleeve top, bearing in mind if it's not too hot. I know if it's really hot and you're not really wearing a long sleeve top, it can be a bit more uncomfortable, but wear a long sleeve top and thread the wires down the sleeves. You won't feel it at all. Another tip as well is that if you can, try to wear your Healy once you are still, meditating or in bed, or I know that's very hard for many people. So obviously it's not going to be a huge thing if you can't do that. Obviously, if you can wear it at some point in the day whilst you're moving around and that's all the time you have, that's fine. But the more we are still with our Healys and the more we are open, the more we can receive the frequencies. And not only that, it's almost like imagining going for a massage and then moving around and talking at the same time. It's the same thing. You're receiving a treatment, and if you are running around, sometimes it will maybe feel like it's not working. So it's really important that we do, even if it's just 10 minutes of the amount of time that you have on the program, it will at least give the body a little bit of rest so that we can receive those frequencies in the best possible way. Okay, so Pure is fantastic to do regularly. I know that some practitioners say to do Pure for 3 months every day. It seems really boring, but apparently that really works. I've never done it for that amount of time. I've been a little bit, let's say, impatient, and I want to try everything else. But I do believe that it's had some great results by doing it every day for 3 months. And that's maybe something to write down or something to try for those newbies who are just joining. Okay, moving on. We're moving to the care. Okay, and I just wanted to give a quick update actually about gold and what the gold actually means, because these have been created by someone very spectacular. His name is Nuno Nina, bit of a tongue twister. He's a Portuguese therapist, frequency therapist. He is one of the main partners of the people that created Healy, and he actually created most of the frequencies that we receive on our Healys. And he's been working with these frequencies for a long time, and he's been doing his own studies, which is why Marcus Schmeeker partnered up with Nuno Nina because he had already everything that he needed to kind of create the Healy. So these studies are extremely useful and have already been tried and tested, which is why these are so powerful. And also the combinations of frequencies in each category, in each program, are extremely strong, which work together. Okay, now we have got, next up, let's just keep going. We've got care. Now, what's care? Care is more about strengthening your energy field, okay? And it can be, you know, if it's almost like caring for your body. It's the self-care that we're looking for on a daily basis. So you may see some, you know, some tips on social media giving us some ideas of how we can look after ourselves, whether it's, you know, getting some healthy exercise, whether it's nutrition, whether it's healthy water, whether it's restoring your bioenergetic balance, you know, in the body, whether, you know, whether it's really going out and seeking a massage or someone to do some energy healing, that amount of care that we all kind of need in a daily basis, okay? And it's something that I really encourage that everybody does at least an hour a day. Care is amazing for this. It supports you if you have not done enough self-care, and it also supports you during self-care. Okay, so this is definitely great. And usually a weakened bioenergetic field, it can be associated with a lot of chronic diseases and also acute diseases. So this will help you restore your balance in the body, and it will offer inner and outer health, and it will prevent a multitude of bioenergetic disorders. Okay, so it really strengthens your immune system, and it really brings you into a deep state of balance within the body. Okay, next is balance. So some of them seem like they are the same, but they do work differently. And remembering that every single program is reading your field and reading your frequency, and it's giving you the frequencies that you need, which makes it very specific just for you. Balance, what this does is it's really balancing the organs in the body. So all the different bodily functions that we need to work in harmony for us to feel good, you know. So for example, it can balance the kidneys, it can balance circulation, it can balance the lymphatic system and the hormones. So it's really seeing the body, it's the body as a whole, and making sure that everything is flowing freely, everything is really moving through in the best possible way. Again, that can be detoxing. It may give you similar frequencies as in pure. So yeah, that's very important for our well-being and our health. And that's important that we also use balance whenever we feel like something isn't functioning in our bodies, whether it's in our digestion, or if we feel a little bit like our hormones are out of balance, and we can feel that there's emotions coming up because of hormonal imbalance. This is great for that. I use it loads for like if I have my menstruation coming in my body, and I'm like, it's a week before, I'm getting kind of imbalances in my emotions, you know, I might have feelings of frustration or anger or sadness, and it may come up for lots of reasons that, you know, that I don't really know. It just happens. So this is great for that. It balances those emotions, and it really makes you feel like everything's okay again and everything's all right. So yeah, and then we've got being. So what is being? Being is exactly what balance is for the body. Okay, so we've just talked about balancing the kidneys, the circulation, the lymphatic system, the hormones, all the bodily functions. Well, being is for our soul. So it's on another level. It's almost on a higher level of frequency. It's on a more spiritual level. And what that does is it really helps you gain strength and regain emotional balance. Now, I know I was saying before that balance is good when emotions start coming up based around hormones. Now, if you are aware that it's to do with hormones, then it's good. But if you're unaware that it's hormones and you think that it's not your hormones and you feel like it's something else, like say, for example, you're going through a difficult relationship, or maybe you're going through some grief and you can feel it on a soul level. And we all know that soul level where it can feel painful. I had a recent experience with that where I felt like, I think it's quite common now, especially in these times where the 3D world that's happening right now is something that is old and it doesn't function anymore. And a lot of us are kind of moving into this 4D and 5D world where our souls are transmuting and also transforming. And there's a part of myself which feels that my soul is being pulled into 3D and pulled into 5D. And it's kind of feels very like split. And it can be extremely painful as we move into the 5D world. And a lot of us are feeling that pressure. So I would really recommend Being to be your go-to program if that's something you feel on a soul level. Go to that program when you're feeling life's turmoil, when you're feeling like something is really uncentered, stressful, and you need to regain balance, but in the soul. Okay, hopefully that helps. Feel free to write in the chat if there's anything else that comes up for you. I'm fine to answer any questions around these programs. Okay, and then we've also got coming up the energy. So what is energy? Energy is awesome because we can use this on so many levels. Somebody once gave me the advice that this is great if you take a flight. It helps your body. Obviously, when we go into the air, everything's at a different frequency. And energy is really good for replenishing your energy cells and giving them that extra boost on a cellular level so we can feel like we can do more. There is at the moment a lot of lower energy frequencies which are pulling us down and making us feel lethargic and slow and unable to move and stagnant. Energy is a great program to do when we're moving forward. It's great if you want to use this for motivation, for example, and bringing it to let's say, I mean, it's great, for example, for like someone who's got a busy lifestyle, who feels tired very easily and they have to kind of push through. Maybe you're a busy mom, or maybe you've got to have 3 jobs, or maybe you've got other things going on in your lives that you just feel totally tired and overwhelmed. This is a great program for giving you that extra boost that you need. Okay, and it supports your ability to respond to life's demands. That's pretty much what it does. Okay, and it works on a bioenergetic level. So it's not just like giving us energy like an energy drink. That's not what it's doing, because an energy drink is almost like a fake chemical reaction of the body, which is actually not good for the body. And it kind of pushes the body when the body is not ready to do the amount of, to be able to kind of like to spend that energy. The body doesn't actually want to, which is why, for example, those that take drugs, for example, they stay awake for 3 days or whatever, is dancing in a nightclub. I mean, I've got that experience because I was living in Berlin, and there was a lot of people doing that, and over in Germany, and it is crazy when you think about it, what that must do to the body. And like, our bodies are not able to have that capacity, and it's pushing us over the level. and it's not good for us because it's spending energy that we actually don't have, and it lowers our immune system. Energy doesn't work like that. Energy works like that on the Healy. It works where it gives your cells the vibrations to really, from the cellular level, to increase your energy rather than take energy that you don't have and can't actually multiply. So that's really good. Excellent. It looks like I'm going to do like probably just a few of the categories today. I really want to go deep, so I think that I will just do. I'll just keep going. Relax. So what does relax do? Relax is one of my go-to programs when I'm feeling extremely stressed or I have a lot to do, and it's all for anti-stress. Okay, so you know, like stress is actually one of the main issues I believe, okay, that causes any issues in the body or any illnesses. And it's very interesting because I have a lot of clients that I work with, and if I do a scan for them and they've got lots of issues like diseases like MS or chronic illnesses that they don't know where it comes from, I can almost guarantee you that 95% of the time, if I do a scan, stress is something that comes up at the top. And then below that, it would be the other issues, the other diseases that they've actually had as a result of the stress. So I recommend Relax and any of the anti-stress programs in the other categories that we're going to talk about. You know what, if you're feeling not well and you're not sure what's wrong, or maybe, you know, someone's giving you a diagnosis and the program isn't working for you, or let's just say you've been feeling pain and, you know, you've been trying to figure out what it is, I recommend starting with anti-stress programs, okay, like Relax, because most of the time our bodies need to relax. We're always in overdrive. Our nervous system is overworked. And before we can create any new patterns and training in the brain, we need to relax. We need to relax our nervous system. And then we can take in the frequencies that it is that we require. Okay, so Relax is for keeping us to kind of helping us let go of stress, daily sorrow, any grief, and it restores your sense of balance. Okay, so yeah, that's my recommendation with the Relax program. And then finally, we've got another very special program in the Gold, which is called Release. Now, this is my go-to program when I have pain in the body, and it can be any type of pain. It can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be physical. Probably I use it more often with physical pain because it's usually the point where whatever emotional pain has been going on with me, it's usually manifested into a physical pain. I'll give you an example because examples are great. Last week I had quite a stressful time, and it was to do with a relationship of mine, a friend, and it was extremely stressful, and I realized I had a lot of emotions coming up. I always try to find a way to release them in a healthy way, but sometimes it doesn't work very well. I try to meditate and numerous different ways. But I realized that when I'm going through such a difficult emotional time, I usually get something physical that follows. And for me, it was a trapped nerve in my neck. And it was very high up on the head and I had a lot of pain right up on above the ear. And it went all the way down my neck and I couldn't turn my head to the left. For me, this is like the perfect example to use the Release program. So there are lots of different causes of pain, okay? And a lot of different causes of disease and illness and injury, and also environmental toxins. and emotional trauma. These can all, I mean, pain can completely take over your life. I know a lot of people are in chronic pain on a daily basis. Release is very good, especially when the pain is coming from a very deep level. And sometimes, you know, some of us have got knee pain, for example. And actually that's something that started to happen in our energy field 20 years ago. And knees are usually, it's about moving forward. So anything regarding knee pain or something in the body that's turned into physical pain, it could be, and most of the time it is, something that started in our energy field that we didn't let go of, or something that is attached to us. And, you know, we've all got to find ways to let these things go. And the release program is the program for that. Okay. So the brain, what happens if we continue to do these loops is that the body goes into a state of fight or flight, and then it starts to cause these physical effects in the body. Okay. And the central nervous system, as I explained before, it just keeps going round and round and round until we break the pattern. And that's when we start to let go. Now, release is perfect for that. Break the pattern. If you feel like you've been in the loop of pain for a really long time and you're on medication or you're on a number of different things, I'm not a doctor, so I don't ever advise to stop medication. But what I would recommend is that you use release as a program to assist you through any difficult times with your Healy, or with pain in the body, emotional, stressful. I mean, if you can catch the emotional stage, that's very useful, because most of the time, you know, we only ever react when it's physical pain. But if you can react when it's emotional, or even spiritual, even better, you're already acting before the physical pain has created itself in the body. So that's the gold cycle. And each one of these is with the wristband. So I'm just going to click on, for example, balance, and you can see what's actually happening here is that you can use the wristbands. Now, if you find it, if you want to actually wear this in bed at night time, somebody gave me the great tip of putting the wristbands around your ankles. It will work the exact same. So if that's something that's useful for you, try that. You could also use it actually with the sticky pads if you wanted to, and the ear clips. It's not going to not work. It's just, this is recommended with the wristbands. And just to show how it works, we're going to start the program. And what that does is we transmit that to the Healy. And once it's transmitted to the Healy, you don't actually need to have the app connected anymore. You can even turn off the Bluetooth. You will not be, I mean, actually, I think they changed it recently that you can still monitor your Healy session without the Bluetooth connected. However, if it does disconnect and your green button is still flashing on the Healy, it's still working and it's still running. Okay, don't worry if the app doesn't show you that it's connected. That's a really great tip. So as you can see here, balance. It's very important that you make sure that the line goes white like this. And I recommend, in terms of how far to turn up the percentage, if it's with the coil, I would do 100% for sure. And if it's the wristbands, do it until you feel comfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable and it's painful on the body, then I recommend turning it down, because what happens is if your body's starting to feel pain or uncomfort, then it will instantly start to resist the frequencies. So you're actually self-sabotaging your process. You're better off having it gentle and subtle rather than strong and uncomfortable. So that's a good tip to note down as well. All right, so that's the Gold Cycle program. There is some fantastic advice on by Nuna Nina about the moon cycle with your gold cycle. He is a massive fan of how the moon cycle affects us. And actually, he lives by the moon cycle. And it's something that I'm doing a lot more of myself. You will see also on the calendar, the events calendar, that we are working a lot by the moon cycle for the future sessions. And each program is very useful to do at different times of the moon. And I would like to, there's a couple of screenshots that explain that on a level that we can understand. And what I'll do is I will add this into the resources, and I'll also post it into the e-learning training module, so you can have a look at how the moon cycle affects how we use the gold cycle programs. Okay, fantastic. So I'd like to move on to the next category. I always spend more time on the gold because I do find it's very powerful. Okay, we're going to move into pain psyche next. Now, as you see on these programs, there is no little bubble, the 3 little bubbles that I told you about earlier. In the PDF description manual, this is called local stimulation. What that means is it's working on locally on the body, which sends it directly into the physical. I'm not saying it doesn't work in the non-physical, it's just this is what Healy recommends. I use the coil sometimes with these programs if I don't really want to use the sticky pads, but really these programs are for using directly with the physical body. And if we just have a look, you can tell when we do chronic pain, it's showing us we can either have the sticky pads behind the ears, or we can have the ear clips, one or the other. And you can, you know, it doesn't have to be behind the ears. It can be anywhere on the body. So if you've got chronic pain, you can just get your sticky pads out and stick them somewhere on the body and wherever the pain is. This is 20 minutes long, this particular program. Also very important with the sticky pads is how to wear the sticky pads. So always try to not stick them directly onto the bone, because you'll find that it will not be able to read the line will not go white. So please, if you can, put it onto the muscle area. And they should, if you have both sticky pads running, they should be running about 1 to 2 inches between them. Okay, so it should be on a similar area for this to work in the best possible way. And so with chronic pain as well, what that does is it's sending direct local stimulation, and it's usually just 1 frequency. It's not more than that. So let's just have a look. I'm just going to start the program. As you can see, it just directly goes straight to the point, and you'll find that it's just one frequency. May not even show it. So yeah, it may come up with something in a second, but it is just working directly. I mean, these are also extremely powerful. So it doesn't mean anything that it's worse or better than it reading your frequency. It's more just going directly to the cells that need to be stimulated. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And also you'll see that it's gray. Gray is good. Gray is what happens on the local stimulation pages. Okay, on all the other ones, it turns white. So please don't worry if it's gray, because it's supposed to be. All right, so what's the difference between all of these programs? So chronic pain is something, it's treatment via the central nervous system. Okay, so it's tapping into your nervous system and it's directly sending you stimulation into that area. Chronic back pain. So this is particular for back pain, although I have used it for other types of pain to see if it works. And for me, it's worked in other occasions, like it has worked for migraine, even though there is a migraine program. I found that chronic back pain has worked for that. And it's also worked for tooth pain in the past. So don't get too hung up on the labels, because maybe it is something else, a frequency or a different stimulation that you need for the pain that you have. Tooth jaw local is local supportive treatment of pain in the mouth area. We've got joints local, which is the local treatment of joint pain. So that's really good. You get your sticky pads out and you put them on the different joints. And also with the tooth jaw local, those that have abscesses or any issues going on with their teeth, you can try to stick the sticky pads on the jaw area, which is quite useful, and I've done that in the past as well. Now, migraine is more cranial, so it's working on the cranial side, the head side treatment of headache and migraine. Okay, and then we've also got insomnia. So obviously we've got the sleep programs as well with the Healy, but this is working with also just one frequency, and it's interesting because insomnia seems to have the same frequency as chronic pain. So it's interesting that that comes up. I'm not sure if it's showing that anymore, but I know that originally, I'm just going to have a look, that, for example, insomnia, when I've used it, it has a similar frequency to other programs. But who's to judge? You know, we are not the experts in that. And for sure, there's a reason for certain frequencies for different things. Mental balance, again, supportive treatment of mental stress, and that's via the central nervous system. It's locally stimulating your system. So I often do local stimulation programs, the pain psyche programs, when something is quite an emergency, when something is quite stressful and you want it to directly go into the nervous system and be like, right, okay, let's change the pattern, let's stimulate it. And again, depression is the same. Okay, there you go. You can see insomnia is 0.5 hertz. And we're going to find that there are other programs that have similar hertz as well. Depression, supportive treatment of depression and deep negative thought patterns and processes via the central nervous system. So again, if you have someone around you that is going through a very tough time, where they've kind of got themselves to a point where maybe they're having a panic attack, or perhaps they've got to a point of feeling like they're coming to an edge and their central nervous system is very hit and miss, like they're almost, it's too much for them, maybe they're feeling very overwhelmed, going straight to these local stimulation programs are great for that. If you feel like you just can't go on, or if you feel like, oh, I don't know what to do and I'm struggling, just start with these local stimulation programs, because they will work quite quickly and quite efficiently as well. And try a few different ones. If one doesn't work, try one of the other ones. It's really worth doing that, because each one has a slightly different effect. Okay, so that's the pain and psyche programs. And we now are moving forward to look at the next category. I think we're only going to get through 3 today, but that's good, because I'd prefer to go into these categories on a deeper level rather than doing them, you know, very quickly, because a lot of us need the deeper process for each category. So learning is exciting. And these programs are the exciting ones. You know, we all want help with pain, and we all want help with flowing through life on another level. But learning programs are opening our minds and our senses to learn something new. Okay, so, and also changing and assisting ourselves to be able to receive frequencies, to be able to learn in a new way. So as many of you know, we only use a small capacity of our brains. They do talk about our DNA evolving and being genetically changed over the years. And I do feel that we have lost a lot of our capacity to use our brains and our minds in the way that we can, or we could in the past, many hundreds of years ago. So I love exploring the learning programs because I have noticed since I've used my Healy that my memory has dramatically improved. I used to not be able to remember anything, and now I remember almost everything, like even tiny things that I've been practicing by not doing a to-do list. So, I mean, a lot of us have to-do lists because we're worried that we're going to forget something. Well, I've been practicing not having a to-do list and actually relying on my memory to say, okay, this is something that I would like to learn and to improve in my life, is not to rely on all these tools to help us to remember, but to actually rely on my mind instead of a technology software that's helping me. I mean, it's very interesting because we all like to feel safe, and a lot of us have got so much going on in our lives that we feel like when, you know, if we forget something, it's going to be so dramatic that it could be like life threatening, for example. I mean, a lot of us have terrible memories and it could be life threatening. So if something like a to-do list is helpful for you, I'm not telling you to stop doing that. I'm just explaining that what I'm doing is I'm experimenting with using the learning programs so that it helps assist me to improve my memory so I don't have to use other tools. And I think that's extremely interesting. So these are my go-to programs when I'm learning something new, but also if I feel like my mind isn't so sharp during the day. And I have actually been doing the memory program every day for 2 weeks. And why not try that? You know, if you feel like you forget things or you struggle with having a lot of things to do and to remember them, try doing the memory program every single day for 2 weeks. So what the memory program does is it energetically stimulates the brain, stimulation of the brain metabolism, and support knowledge retention. So really supporting how we have this capacity of the brain to hold information in the now. So just to explain how the brain works, the brain circulates glucose and oxygen, and it supplies it to the neurons and the nerve cells. And that carries valuable information, and it creates important neural nets, okay? And these nets, almost like bubbles, they store information, okay? Now, these little bubbles of information, a lot of us struggle, and maybe we can't actually, our nerves and those lines of information lines are not very strong. So it's very difficult to remember some of the things that we have going on. But what this does is it actually stimulates it, and it also improves it, and it strengthens it, so we can start to all these memories and all this knowledge and information that we're taking in on a daily basis. We're really holding on to that information on a whole new level. Okay, and it's fantastic because it gives you so much more confidence knowing that you can tap into these different nets of information and grab what you need, rather than going, oh, what was that again? I can't remember that. And you know what? We have to remember so much, and because our minds are overloaded with information. So it's really important that we do strengthen those those nerves in the brain, and really strengthen our brain and how it works. Great. So learning systemic and learning acute. I will do an e-learning module about the differences between systemic and acute. And also local stimulation. I will explain it a little bit now, because it's very important. And I do already have a document which is I'll actually add the document into the e-learning module, because it's important that we understand what it means. Bear with me a second. So like learning what acute means over acute, and also what it means to have systemic. Exactly. Okay, so I lost my train of thought there. All right, so systemic is usually something that is affecting the whole body. Okay, so it could be something else that's happened and the whole body's been affected by it. Acute is something that has become more localized in the body, and it's actually a little bit more, let's say, stronger, because maybe the patterns have been going on for a while systemically, and then it's turned into an acute condition. Okay, and an acute condition is something that has been happening for a while, and it's turned into something more serious. And for example, you know, emotionally, we've had something going on with our concentration. Let's just use concentration as an example. So let's just say that our concentration is we just get distracted. I get very easily distracted. If I'm in a room with lots of noises going on or someone else is there, I will struggle to concentrate. And that's on a systemic level, because it hasn't actually affected me that much. It's affected me, you know, because I've had to stop what I'm doing, but it hasn't actually turned into an acute issue where something has turned physical into the body. Okay. So I feel like it's very important that systemic is something that we do regularly if it feels like something that is not affecting our lives too much. It assists with, so concentration systemic, this assists with higher states of concentration, and it focuses on frequencies that work on a whole body level. Okay. The concentration acute works more on the cranial stimulation, like the head. So it's supporting cranial stimulation, and that's for focus and acute states of concentration and the ability to ignore distraction. So I guess when I'm distracted in a situation, I could use that one, but concentration systemic is maybe something more like I'm learning something new and I need to concentrate to allow that just information to go freely into my field and into my physical and into my mental. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then we've got learning systemic and learning acute. So learning systemic, again, is something that we can use in times of difficulty or feeling like we're not able to learn, like maybe it's just too much, and it's more activating the central nervous system to help us to learn rather than to concentrate, because concentration is slightly different. Learning systemic is more like changing the frequency of the cells to feel more of a yes when it comes to receiving information. So it's it can also be used when a person has been challenged for a long period of time and finds the ability to learn and retain information to be a core issue in their lives. So perhaps this is something that has come up with specific learning difficulties. This could be a good one in those situations. Okay, and then we've got learning acute, which again is going more and specifically on cranial stimulation. And it's all about supporting focus and retention. And then we've got exam systemic. Okay, so exam can come up, and you can use exam not for just exams, because obviously, you know, it's just a word, and again, that's labeling specific frequencies that are not specifically for just exams, but it's more of helping us focus in a state of more stress, or in a more high, when you're more anxious, or when you're in a moment where you have to perform, or you feel like you have to perform at a specific level. So it could be like a job interview, it could be maybe a driving lesson, or at some point where you feel like a little bit like your stress levels get in the way of learning. This is great because you've got exam systemic, which supports through it focuses on energy balance for supporting a calm mental state, and at the same time it helps with kind of being able to relax our nervous system. And again, exam acute is balancing of acute mental disharmony and anxiety before exams. So systemic is more balancing the whole system, and acute is more anxiety and something that is maybe on a more mental level, so to speak. Okay, and then we're moving to stress systemic and stress acute. So slightly different to something like not being in a exam scenario. So for example, a driving test or something like that. It's more of how we work in a state of stress, and how our minds work in a state of stress. So say, for example, we've gone through something very difficult in our lives. Maybe someone has passed over, or maybe we have been going through some family difficulties, or perhaps we've been going through some more some difficulties at home in our relationships. It can be also spiritual. Maybe we've all been having these upgrades. These are really good for that, because it's more of, we still have to keep going, and it's great if stress is getting in the way of you learning something or taking new information in. This is great. So what this does, the stress systemic, it's more mental balancing, and it stimulates creative power. So a lot of us know that when we're in states of stress, we might get like a block. So writer's block, for example, a lot of writers get that. They go, oh, I'm so stressed, I have to do this, I have to create this, I have to create this new project, but I can't move forward, I'm in a state of stress. This is stimulating your creative power. So it's tapping into it, and it's helping you feel relaxed. And this program addresses deep-rooted states around learning. Okay, and then we've got stress acute, which is more, for example, about mood improvement. So say, for example, you've been fine, and then suddenly one day you just feel like everything is just turned upside down. This is good for that. It supports mood improvement, and it just delivers frequencies that support a relaxed state of learning. So you can really feel relaxed whilst you learn your new study, or whether you're learning to drive, or whether you're learning something for your university, or reading a book and self-studying at home. So those are fantastic programs for around those. So that's the first lesson that I would like to share. And it's great that we've just done 3 categories today, because it's important that we really go deep into each one. And I really really invite you to ask me some questions in the support. Thank you very much for joining the membership, because you're going to get so much out of this. I'm also going to edit these into bite-sized chunks so that you'll be able to do one category at a time, and over time they will be developed. So as the more examples that we have. Thank you so much for being here and for joining on this journey into the first level of learning about the PINK programs. And the next session, I will go into the next level, and then there will be more. So I will be possibly adding some extra lessons as we go along. And you can always then access the e-learning suite in the next couple of days, and you'll get a replay of this session, and you can go through it and practice. I hope it's been useful. Thank you, Susan. And I can see that Bernie has been trying to get in for the last 5 minutes, but she's missed it, I think. So unfortunately, I'm going to stop recording. Stop recording.